business finance, legal entities. The person or people running a business may organize it in one of the three basic ways, all different from the legal and tax points of view. The first one here is a sole trader. So the sole trader is one person only in the business. So they have to provide the capital for the business from their own resources or a loan from the bank or from various form of government funding for small firms. So the advantages of this sole trader, the first one is easy to establish with minimal capital required. Second is all the profits of the business or after expenses and taxation go to the owner. And the third one, as the owner work for themselves, it is a good incentive to run it efficiently. The fourth one, no decisions have to be shared nor do the profits. And the disadvantages of this sole trader, the first one here, all debts of the business are the owner's responsibility. The owners has unlimited liability. The second one is there may be a tax or disadvantages. So if the owner becomes ill, the business is at risk. And the last one, it can be difficult to raise extra capital for expansion.
So, next is a partnership. It means a partnership is made up of members who are in business and whose aim is to make profits. Partnerships are generally allowed to have 2 between and 20 members, although there are exceptions. All the partners are equally responsible for the debts of the partnership. They therefore have unlimited liability. The advantages of a partnership are: first, it is easy and cheap to set up. Usually, more capital is at the disposal of the partners. Second, is the partners can pool their knowledge, experience, and resources. Third, there is no legal formalities and required to set up a partnership, but an agreement is highly desirable. Fourth, in case of illness, there exists a better chance of continuity. And lastly, the profits are, after tax, are divided amongst the partners and agreed in any partnership agreement. The disadvantages of a partnership is first, the unlimited liability, which means that the partners may be personally liable for any business debts. The second one, there is always the risk of relationships breaking down between partners. Actions of one partner are binding on the others. Lastly, when partner dies, there may be problems because the family of the deceased person may choose to take out their capital from the business. In this case, the partnership may have to be wound up or dissolved.
As an incorporated company. An incorporated company is one which now has its own legal personality. This legal person or identity has implications for the way companies keep their accounts and for the terminology used. Because a company is a distinct legal person, it can own things, it can buy and sell in its own right, and it can own money. The owners of the company are the so-called members or shareholders who have a role to appoint the directors of the company. The shareholders have no liability for the debts of the company beyond payment in full at the face value of the shares they hold. The profits earned by the company may be retained by the company or distributed to the shareholders as dividends. And these are the advantages of incorporated company. A company is a separate legal entity. It is distinct from the people who run it. Limited liability means that the owners are not responsible for the debts of the company except in cases of fraud or personal guarantees. losses can be carried forward and offset against profit in good years. In the eyes of the public, a company may be seen as more reputable. Ownership is transferable. Certain tax advantages may exist, and the disadvantages of incorporated company, these are closer regulation by law, more complicated accounts than other forms of business organization, and lastly, more expensive to set up.
My topic is about the three basic types of incorporated companies. 1. Private limited company. A private limited company is a type of organization you can set up, run your business. Company ownership is split into shares owned by shareholders. A company must be corporated tax out of any profit and can then distribute the remaining profit among shareholders. It's run by directors who are legally required to perform certain duties for the company and its shareholders. 2. Public limited companies means in any company whose shares, all or some, are treated publicly in accordance with the conditions set out in the Act governing securities. Any limited company whose shares were not organically offered to the public are offered for sale for the general public or admitted for trading on a regulated market shall also be considered a public company. 3. Quoted public limited company is the legal status of any firm which has offered shares to members of the general public. In turn owns a limited amount of its own shares. A PLC's stock or company share is presented to the general public and can be purchased or claimed by any individual either privately during the process of the limited public offering or via trades on the stock exchange market. Public limited firms are also known as publicly held companies.
Next is exchanges. A significant source of funds for businesses is retained profit. After paying a proportion for corporation tax and a proportion to shareholders as dividends, the remainder is designated as retained profit. Profits retained in the business shown in the balance sheet as services. Business can also raise finance from external sources, but naturally, this always involves a cost. Besides banks, where a business can raise finance in the form of an overdraft, a secured loan, or a mortgage. Finance can also be raised from other financial institutions or the general public. These two ways of doing that. The first is issue shares, i.e. invite the general public or financial institutions to become a shareholders. The second is issue debentures or some other forms of debt instruments, i.e. borrow from the general public or financial institutions. Equity or share capital. A combination of share capital, long-term loan capital, and short-term facilities is the most common arrangement. Ideally, a significant proportion of the company's finance will be provided by ordinary shareholders. It is the money that company owners and investors direct towards a company's capital and use to develop or expand the operations of their ventures. Ordinary shares. Ordinary shareholders have a share any profits that have been made that year, tax has been deducted, and interest or any loan paid. Preference shares. These shares have a fixed rate of dividend expressed as a percentage of nominal value which is paid before the dividends of a ordinary shareholders. Next, the cumulative preference shares. A company may not earn enough 1 year to be able to pay a fixed rate of dividend on its preference shares.